Hello, sisters, and happy Monday. This is HB Ministries, a place for you to believe, behold, and become all Christ has for you in whatever season of life. So welcome to our daily devotions. I am going to bring you poolside today as we dive into our June calendar. And those that are new, you can find this calendar over at heatherbaxter.com. And you can see that today, if we click this, we are going to be doing Isaiah 61 and Proverbs 13:12. And the title is Purpose Driven. And like I said, if you are wondering, well, how do I get there? I'm going to right now Google Heather Baxter, and you will see this homepage come up. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is to please subscribe right up here in the area where it says enter your email here, because I will send you a newsletter once a week, and you are getting all of the notes for the Friday live video. And you want those because these notes are to help you build up your war binder. Okay, so how do we get the calendar? How do we get everything else? You hit June devotions and then you slide on down. Let's see. I don't think it went through. Yep, there we go. June devotions, you slide on down. We're going to talk in a second about this little devotional over here. We're going to definitely go because that's part of today's message. And you will see that the calendar will pop up. It takes about a minute just to load up in your system, but this is a Google Calendar, and I'm trying this this time because many ladies asked if they could sync Google Calendars, and I said, well, whatever, we'll give it a try. But anyway, here is your calendar. Here is the day. If you go over to this and you click right there, give it a click, it'll show you the readings, and it'll say Isaiah 61 and Proverbs 13:12. Now, if you click one of the readings, you click that top reading, it'll also tell you the description and what pages we are talking about in the run book. And you can see today, 74 through 78, we are going to talk about my testimony because the verses match that. What are we doing in June? We are going through my run book. You do not need it, but here is why I'm recommending it. Because my run book is literally all of my journal entries that I ever did, and what helped me through all my mile markers, all my spiritual markers, the journal pages, which you're going to see in a second, that I'm going to talk to you about, came right from this book. And they're just ways that I journal. And then today you're going to notice that we're going to talk about my personal testimony, and we're going to utilize one of the verses. So hold tight on that, because I'll talk to you a little bit more about my personal testimony when we get into today's scripture reading. So that is a little bit about how we do things here and how the setup is for June. Anybody is welcome. So please subscribe. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. You can even go up here and you can contact me there and ask me if you are struggling with getting anything. So let's move on. And today is Monday, and we are going to look at, like I said, 2 verses. So we're going to talk about Isaiah 61 and Proverbs 13:12. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up my journal, because what I do is I take my journal and I write the verses out. So here is today's reading, 7 and Proverbs 13:12. Alrighty, so for those of you that have watched some of my Bible studies and how I walk through them and do them, this is kind of how we're going to do it today. So I take and I write the verse down. I usually get my first time that I write the verse down, I take it from my Woman's Study Bible right here. And that is a New King James Study Bible, and I'll usually write it out of there. I'll open it up and then I will write. And so let's go ahead and read Isaiah 61:7, which is our first reading. And it says, instead of your shame, you shall have double honor. And I love this. Instead of confusion, they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land, they shall possess double. Everlasting joy shall be theirs. So there's a lot of things happening in this verse. And the first thing I want you to see is I circled your shame. Another thing that's happening in this verse is you see the word instead of twice. Do you see it? Instead of your shame. And then in the second sentence, instead of your confusion. I love this verse because, first of all, you're going to see in a minute in my run book, my testimony. And you've got to come to a place where you can label your shame. You've got to label it. Several areas in my life where I had shame, not just this one part of my testimony, but shame can come in and sneak in different areas. And if we begin to label it and really get to the root, we're going to be able to recover and have reconciliation. And if you see over here, the goal of what's happening here is the Lord wants to exchange some things with you. He wants his grace, his comfort. He wants to help you rebuild and restore and have joy and recovery. And so in your land, when it says in their land, that means your home, your life, the characters that are around you. He wants you to have double portion and everlasting joy. So I'm going to take you over to my run book and I'm going to show you a little bit of my testimony. I'm going to just kind of share briefly how God used this verse right here to help me stay purpose driven. But I first want to share the testimony. Then we're going to get into our second verse. And I'm going to pick up this book and we're going to set it up here. And I'm going to read this little part of my testimony right now. And I'm not going to get into all of it. If you have the book, you can read, because it's definitely a few pages about my life. And these were memories that were very tender. I was trying to heal, but I was feeling rejected, disillusioned, desperate. And I kept looking in the wrong places for my healing when God really wanted to exchange some things with me. But anyway, I am going to read this to you. It says, well, let's start right here. And now I was pregnant. I went to an abortion clinic with a friend and they said the magic words. We can take care of this problem quickly and you'll never think about it again. So I had the abortion and a very, very, very cold heart. I felt nothing at that time. I met another man who I thought might actually like me the right way and care for me. Okay, I elaborated a little there because I want you to know that I constantly felt that a man was going to be able to take care of me and give me what I needed and bring me comfort. And I kept thinking that and exchange my sadness with the joy of a relationship and help me, recover and just have joy and not feel my shame anymore. But I found myself pregnant again. And I handle it the very same way. But this time, guilt defined me. I was hopeless, consumed with failure, and felt frozen in place. Somewhere in me was a good girl who was worthy of a good life, but I had no map to find her. I was separated from God, yet longing for him. Although I couldn't see it at the time, God started to lead this bent and broken girl back in steps. Now, how did he do this? I'm going to share with you. Now, I'm going to tell you that the rest of my testimony is here, written very nicely. And if you have the book, read it. If not, get the book, because I have several testimonies in here for you to help understand some of the verses and stories that you're learning. But honestly, hope is what found me and stopped me. And hope, I have so many messages on this. And when I counsel, I work with everybody in regards to hope stopping you, hope sending you in a new direction, hope strengthening you, hope stretching you, and hope satisfying you. This is the first thing I love to teach women, because this is how you really begin to understand your testimony. And so with that in mind, I'm going to run right over here to the next verse, which is very important in today's lesson in regards to being purpose-driven. Proverbs 13:12 is one of my most favorite Bible verses, and it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. I circled deferred, which means delayed, a setback. And a lot of times, remember, your shame is what is setting you back. And it says, makes the heart sick. The heart sick is depression in the body. But I love the but because that means that we're not done. That also means right here, there could be recovery. There's an exchange. There's rebuilding in the grace of God. Something happens when Jesus steps in. And it says, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. New vitality, and desire means realization of hope with a vision. And I wrote this down because I thought it was so, so important. Hope is expectation of something desired. Now, I'm going to turn the camera around for a minute and talk to you about something because this verse really means a lot to me. And I just want to talk to you personally why. All right, sisters, let's talk about Proverbs 13:12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire brings forth a tree of life. For just a second. The reason why this verse meant so much to me is because I lived in a deferred moment for a very, very long time. And when I say deferred moment, there was depression in my body, there was shame, there was guilt, and I was not able to move forward. But I just want to let you know that God knows when you're in this place. He knows when you are feeling this way. And honestly, a little cry from the heart, he is actually going to reposition people in your life and bring them in. He's going to usher them in, and they're going to come by divine appointments. And this is what happened to me for sure. And I'm going to skip a few blocks here, a few miles, if we may say, because it's the run book. And God ended up working in my life with another mentor. And this mentor taught me how to create a desire out of my deferred moment. And I had to kind of learn how to pace myself out, pray and ask God some things and communicate with him and confess with him and really enter into the race, which is what your journals are about. That's exactly what the logs are that you're going to download. Those are what they're about. And that is what I had to do, was continue to communicate with him. And, storms are going to be there in life. It wasn't like everything was removed. I had storms of bitterness, storms of anger, trust issues with myself and with men. And I really had to keep generating my thoughts on paper and communicating them back to God. It was super, super important. And the more that I did that, the more that God was producing my character. Remember, perseverance produces character. Character produces hope. You're persevering by working on your pace, which is what the journal entries are about. Praying, asking, and seeking, which we talked about all of that in May's devotional, and just constantly communicating, writing your vision down, making them plain on paper, and you run with them. Though they may tarry. Tarry means persevering and enduring and knowing that God is building your character. It's all about him building your character. That's what it is. He wants you to go on a journey of hope with him. So there it is. Trust God to walk you through the hope process. And the hope process in the run book, which I gave you some pages to look at, was pages 73, which was my testimony. Right here, 74, 75. And then here's the hope process. Here's my story charted in hope. And I teach you how to chart your own story in hope with 5 points. And it's your story. Go for it. Run it out. Learn to run it out. And that's what today's devotional is all about, is understanding that we have a story. We all do. We have shame. We have things we want instead of confusion and anger and bitterness and all those storm clouds that I was talking about down here. We have things, and we don't want to allow those storm clouds to hide our hope. We definitely don't want them to crowd what God has for us. And so you do not walk away from God, and you do not walk away from your story. Know that he is producing character. He has a purpose for you, and he wants to drive you toward that purpose. And he utilizes your whole story, which I think is absolutely amazing. So I pray that today's Bible verses were a blessing, If you have any other questions, you can always let me know and contact me. If you're looking for any coaching or counseling, you can definitely reach out to me. But the bottom thing is you need to find a desire and write your vision out. Now, remember I said I was going to end with clicking this page right here. If you click this devotional page, it's going to bring you to right here. It's going to bring you to a running log, which is basically how I write my devotions on a daily basis. And I'm using the word pace because you need to have a pace. You need to be moving with God in some direction. So I'm giving you a source of a movement. Pray. Ask God for a vision, maybe in regards to your shame, your bitterness, your worry, whatever it is, and write what could be or should be. Communicate it out to Him. And then enter the race by applying God's promises, by applying the lessons that you're learning. Talk to Him about it. And daily talk about your blisters and your pain. Talk about it. Talk about the hard miles, but put them back in this pace, in this pray, ask, communicate, and enter. And then don't forget to write down your praises. So this is just a bit of how I journal, and I made these running logs available for you. Get yourself a journal and begin to write things out. Again, it says, write down your revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. And the rest of this verse says, though it may tarry, it will surely come to pass. But it's your character building and your perseverance in the middle of all of that God is going to work on as it comes to pass. So be blessed, ladies. I hope you enjoyed today's, and I will see you in tomorrow's devotional. Bye-bye.